I have a question for you. Would you consider yourself a comic book fan first or a movie slash TV comic book fan first? I only ask that because I am kind of curious if generation wise, whether you grew up collecting comics first or all you've known has always been comic book movies on the big screen or in television, if that changes the way that we critique and appreciate this comic book movie TV genre that we're currently in. I mean that by this. I was born in 1982. I'm 42 years old. I grew up in a time when literally I had Christopher Reeve's Superman to look at and Michael Keaton's Batman for a really long time before other great comic book movies came about, like Blade in 1998 or the X-Men in 2000, that really sort of kicked off this comic book movie era, if you will. But before that, all I had was comic books. I remember seeing my first classic X-Men comic book at the bodega on the rotator and just falling in love with the Dark Phoenix saga. And that really took me down this path of comic book collecting all through the years. And I feel like as somebody that always dreamed about, man, wouldn't it be cool if one day we got these X-Men or Avenger comic book movies on the big screen, opening up my Wizard magazine to see all these really cool fan casting of things that would never be, until one day it was. And I always am curious if the generation that grew up after the 2000s, that all they've known is comic books on the big screen or comic book television series, if they have a different appreciation and view these movies in a different lens than maybe I certainly do, or some of us certainly do. In the sense of, when I watch this stuff, there is still an appreciation for the artistry, for the ability to take something from the comic book page and bring it to real life, that I value and I hold on to, because I remember there was a time when we would not get stuff like this. And while I still feel I could be very critical towards movies, I go towards them with a more positive mindset and then critique the negative that I certainly didn't care for about the movie. Whereas I am curious if a current generation where this is all that they know, if they view it in a completely different lens or tackle it a little bit differently than we certainly do, whether that be on the negative side or just not have that same level of appreciation. So I'm kind of curious, what do you guys think? Are you or were you a comic book fan first, or have all you've ever known is comic book movies and television, and that's what introduced you? I'm kind of curious. Let me know your thoughts.